The AP and the College Football Playoff Committee will do it wrong, so we're here to do it right. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert here with our Week 12 GE Top 25 rankings, getting us one step closer to Selection Sunday. Of course, these rankings officially our own, directly from us here at the channel, coming to you every single Monday, just like we've done all season long. And once again, we've got some major shakeups in our rankings going into this week. We saw 5 top 25 teams lose in Week 11, including number 3, Georgia, number 4, Miami, number 15, LSU, 17, Iowa State, and 18, Pittsburgh. All those teams going down just last week. And with those 2 teams losing in the top 10, we saw some massive shakeups there and a massive shakeup in what the playoff picture is going to look like, at least as of right now. So let's not hesitate, let's not delay, let's go ahead and jump into our official top 25. Again, no bias from the AP, from the media, from, preferences to teams, no bias from the committee, strictly from us here at the Gridiron Expert. And in the top 10, we've got some changes, but not in the top 2. Oregon and Ohio State staying put as our top 2 teams in the country. It should be noted that we did have Ohio State put at number 2 last week before the committee released that to be the case. A lot of debate on whether Ohio State or Georgia should be the second-ranked team in the country. We put our rankings out on Monday. The committee put theirs out on Tuesday. We believed Ohio State deserved to be that number 2 team. Oregon, no reason to move them from number 1. They're unbeaten. They have the win over Ohio State. They are looking dominant in just about every game they've played. Looking really good right now with a 21-point win over Maryland this last weekend. Ohio State dominating Purdue 45-0 as they should to stay at number 2. Because of the losses to Georgia and Miami, both of which we'll talk about here in a second, we saw some movement into the top 4. Texas, after annihilating Florida 49-17, moves back up to number 3. Penn State, despite losing to Ohio State just a few weeks ago, back up to number 4 following a big bounce-back win, whiteout game over Washington, 35-6 over the Huskies in Happy Valley. So a big win for them. No Ohio State hangover, maybe like we would have seen in previous years, because with the new 12-team format, Penn State still has a very good chance of getting in. If they win out, they're going to be in, even if they miss out on the Big Ten championship game. And that's a possibility when you realize Oregon is looking very good to get in there right now. Ohio State could still get in. Indiana could still get in there. So even if Penn State misses out, they will make the playoff as long as they don't lose again. So the motivation is still there. Notre Dame in at number 5. Look, I have debated this with a lot of you over the last few weeks. We have explained ourselves as to why we have the Fighting Irish ranked as high as they are. They are number 5 right now over a team like Indiana, over a team like BYU, and that seems to be the one that people get most upset about, is having Notre Dame ahead of BYU. We've explained that time and time again. If you want more of that, come to our live stream tomorrow. We are going to be doing our live stream tomorrow with you, watching the playoff committee release their rankings live. We'll react to that, and we'll also compare them to our rankings, and we would love to hear from you in our live call-in show. But Notre Dame in at number 5, up 2 spots after a 49-point defeat over Florida State. So a big-time win. Obviously, Florida State, nothing to brag about, but a big win, no letdown performance from the Fighting Irish. Indiana jumping up 3 spots, beating the reigning national champions in Michigan 20-15. Again, the Wolverines, not much to brag about this year. They were a very mediocre to below average team. Some would say that game was closer than it should have been. Indiana, though, pretty much in control of it from start to finish. Got down, 3-0 early, then took care of business, never trailed again. Really played phenomenal ball, was phenomenal in the red zone defensively. Tons of credit to Kurt Cignetti's squad. The Hoosiers 10-0. They've got a bye week this week. And then the massive showdown against Ohio State on November 23rd. So that'll be a massive one, not just for the Big Ten title race, but for the playoff race as well. There's a chance, guys, that Indiana could find themselves as a top 2, top 3 team in the country if they're able to finish undefeated, which of course would include a win over Ohio State. BYU in at number 7. The Cougars, very, very fortunate to have survived Utah. Some would say a very controversial finish in Salt Lake City on Saturday night. Getting the benefit of that late timeout. The timeout they said they couldn't hear because the crowd was just so loud. And then the 4th down holding call deep in their own territory that allowed the BYU's drive to continue, ultimately led to the game-winning field goal where they won 22-21. So a very interesting game in Salt Lake City Saturday. Regardless, BYU did win. They're still undefeated. They're still atop the Big 12 standings, and they will make the college football playoff if they do, in fact, win the Big 12 championship. And even if they were to slip up one other time, they slip up somewhere and still win the Big 12 title, I think they could get in as a one-loss team. Strength of schedule isn't that great, but they do have a win over SMU. They do have a win over Kansas State. So I would like to think that BYU probably will get in, even if they were to slip up somewhere. But they come in at number 7. Tennessee up to number 8 following their win over Mississippi State. Suffered some big injuries in that game against the Bulldogs. They've got a massive game against Georgia coming up this Saturday. We'll be breaking that game down for you in deeper detail on Wednesday. Alabama up 2 spots following their win over LSU. You know, it's one of those games where you feel like Alabama should have gone higher. We had them at number 11. They're now number 9. They beat LSU 42-13 in Death Valley. But the question is, where would you have put Alabama? You know, you can't really put them above Tennessee because the Volunteers do own that head-to-head over the Crimson Tide. Do you really send Alabama? I mean, if that's the case, and you need to put Tennessee above BYU, Tennessee above Indiana, something like that, Alabama would then have to jump those 2 undefeated teams. The Crimson Tide already have 2 losses. So it's kind of an unfortunate place. Their win over LSU was extremely impressive and extremely important, but not enough to get Alabama into the top 8, top 7 because of just who is ahead of them and because of the kind of the guidelines and kind of the rules and regulations that we are following when it comes down to these rankings. So Alabama in at number 9, still looking really good though. Great opportunity to win out, and if they do that, they will make the college football playoff, even if they don't play for the SEC championship. Ole Miss, they kept their playoff hopes alive with a huge win over Georgia, 28-10 in Oxford. Absolute domination. Got down 7-0, and then it was all Rebels after that. The Bulldogs just don't look good. They don't look good. They got that massive win over Texas, which was great. They looked horrible in the first half against Alabama, mounted that comeback, ultimately fell short. Didn't look that great against Florida a few weeks ago. Were able to win that game against a third-string quarterback, just barely. I know it was by 14, but it was a one-possession game late, and then got torched on the road against Ole Miss. Now they've got a huge game coming up against Tennessee. The Bulldogs will have to win out if they want to make the college football playoff, and they do have some tough games left ahead of them. Tennessee, Georgia Tech, who just beat Miami, and then if they are able to do that and they somehow slip into the SEC championship game, they've got to win that as well. So an interesting situation for Kirby Smart's Bulldogs, but Ole Miss, regardless, up 8 spots following their big win. They are in the top 10 and keeping those playoff hopes alive, and they have a pretty favorable schedule down the stretch as well. So that rounds out our top 10. That's a really important part here. Coming out of that is the 2 teams that did lose in the top 10. Georgia and Miami at 11 and 12, both down 8 spots from where we had them ranked a week prior. Obviously, Georgia losing to Ole Miss, like we mentioned, losing by 18 points. You're going to drop quite a bit for that, especially now they've taken their second loss as well. Miami only took their first loss of the year, but lost in a very embarrassing fashion, 28-23 against Georgia Tech, who pretty much has had their number over the last 5-6 years. Their defense was absolutely atrocious. Number 4 team in the country didn't know how to stop a basic jet sweep. Cam Ward tried to do a little too much heroically, ultimately failed in there. This offense has been so great, was held to just 23 points. It was a bad performance from a Miami team that seemed to just find ways to win. Luck finally ran out against the Yellow Jackets. Big wake-up call for them. Still on top of the ACC right now. Still looking really good for the Canes, but they're going to have to win out. Strength of schedule isn't that great for the Hurricanes. They're going to need to win out and win the conference. If they drop another game, things will get really interesting. More than likely would miss out on the college football playoff unless, of course, they do, in fact, just win the conference championship. So Miami down at number 12. Season's not over. Hopes are not over, but a bad loss to a very underrated Georgia Tech team. Because of that, because of the teams that did lose, we saw a couple teams like SMU and Boise State, who did nothing wrong, go down a few spots. SMU did not play. They dropped down to number 13. Boise State survived Nevada 28-21. They had another massive game from Ashton Jeanty, who will still be our Heisman Trophy favorite until proven otherwise. Honestly, should be the Heisman Trophy winner unless he just gets hurt. If he doesn't get hurt, stays healthy the remainder of the year, he should be given the Heisman in New York. I don't know if anybody else can compete with him as of right now. So Boise State down to number 14, still the highest ranked Group of 5 team and would be the playoff representative if the season ended today. Clemson we have at 15. Some thought that was too high. I disagree with that. We've got the Tigers in at number 15, the country, 10-point win on the road against Virginia Tech. Bounced back from that shocking home loss against Louisville and did so in a big way, winning in a very tough environment against an improving Virginia Tech squad. A&M did not play. They had a bye week, so they stay at number 16. Army up 2 spots, beating North Texas 14-3. They had like a 21-play, 13-minute drive or something like that. It was absolutely insane for the Black Knights on Saturday. But they held that really good North Texas offense. I know they're up and down, but a good North Texas offense to 3 points on the day. Army's defense, severely underrated. We talk so much about how good they are at running the ball and how great Bryson Daly is, but do not sleep on Army's defense. I've got them up at number 17 playing really good football right now. And the Group of 5 race will get really, really interesting if Army finds a way to go undefeated and Boise State somehow loses somewhere else. If the Broncos lose another game and Army goes undefeated, things could get interesting there. That Group of 5 race, everybody's talking about Boise State. Do not sleep on Army. Crazy things can and have happened. So Army at 17. Colorado into the top 20, up 4 spots with their big road win against Texas Tech. We picked the Buffaloes to win that game in our Friday video. Predicted that game against Colorado, Texas Tech, one that had massive Big 12 title implications. Buffaloes got down early, battled back, ended up winning 41-27. Game that was within one possession in the final seconds, got that late turnover there. But regardless, Colorado playing really, really good football right now. They control their own destiny in terms of getting the Big 12 championship. And if they get there, they'll be one win away from the college football playoff. So believe it or not, Deion Sanders has his team in great position, dare I say prime position, to make a run to the playoff, despite being ranked only 18th as of right now. Washington State took care of Utah State by 21 points, up a spot. The Cougars' offense is amazing. Their defense, not so much, but still a top 20 team in our eyes. And Kansas State moving up a spot on their bye week. They round out our top 20. Coming in to the final 5 teams, 21 through 25, we got Louisville up 3 spots. 3 spots because of the teams that lost ahead of them. Remember, we had teams like Iowa State and LSU and Pittsburgh all lose ahead of them. They kind of fell either out or really low. Louisville didn't play, but they're up to number 21 in our rankings. LSU down 5 to number 22. And someone say, really? You still got LSU ranked? And I do, and here's why. The Tigers, look, they took a bad loss to Alabama. Not bad because Alabama's a bad team. No, bad because you lost at home in a game many people thought you'd win. Lost 42-13. You simply did not show up for the biggest game of your season. But the Tigers still have a win on the road against South Carolina. They still have a win against Ole Miss. Their losses are not bad by any means. On the road to A&M, against Alabama, the worst loss came all the way back in week 1 against USC. Still have a handful of quality victories on their resume, and I could not put LSU below South Carolina, a team that wasn't even ranked. I'm not going to drop LSU below them. 2 teams that have the same record. LSU owning that head-to-head tiebreaker, beating Carolina in Columbia. They've got to be there. So number 22 for LSU, still dropping quite a bit. Playoff hopes are practically done, but still going to be a top 25 team. Below them, South Carolina, who LSU did beat, but Carolina playing really good ball right now. 3 straight victories, annihilated Texas A&M, as we know, and then followed that up with a complete annihilation of Vanderbilt, a team we actually had ranked. The committee did not. We did beat them 28-7 in Nashville. So the Gamecocks are for real. Have a great shot at finishing 9-3. They really could do it. They're in at number 23 right now, playing really, really good football under Shane Beamer. Tulane is in our top 25 now. Beat Temple 52-6. We told you Tulane was on the outside looking in just last week. Took care of business. Got some help from teams that lost ahead of them. They now crack our top 25. So we got 3 group of 5 teams in there with Tulane, Army, and Boise State. That race, a lot more interesting than people realize. So keep an eye on that over these last few weeks of the season. And then Iowa State remaining in our top 25. Some say that Missouri should be there. I disagree. I'm not very sold on Missouri. Some say Missouri should be there. Arizona State maybe. Louisiana even. All those teams right on the outside looking in of our top 25. Could be there as soon as next week. But Iowa State, we had ranked higher than most in week 11. Had them ranked at number 14. They lose to Kansas, a Kansas team that's much better than their record shows, but still not a great team. Lose to Kansas for back-to-back losses this season. Lost to Texas Tech by 1, followed it up with a bad loss against Kansas. Still keeping them as a fringe top 25 team. But did the same thing with Pittsburgh last week. Got annihilated by SMU, moved them down to 25. Thought they still deserved to be there. Clearly they did not after their loss to Virginia. Iowa State, they've got to show me something going forward to stay there. Otherwise they could be out as soon as next week. But the Cyclones still I think a quality football team. Obviously in a bit of a slump right now, but I'm going to put them over 25, and I don't believe a team like Missouri, Arizona State, Louisiana should be ahead of them as of right now. Margin might be slim, but not enough to completely drop them out. Debate that all you want, but at the end of the day, it's 25 versus 26 or 27. They're not in the playoff hunt. Missouri's not in the playoff hunt, despite what Eli Drinkwitz says. Arizona State's not in the playoff hunt, despite what they may believe. So at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It's just like the people that were arguing whether Ohio State or Georgia should be number 2 or number 3. At the end of the day, it did not matter. So we got Iowa State there. They're number 25, and that rounds out our top 25 for Week 12. Again, you don't like them, come debate them. Tuesday night, we're watching the playoff committee live stream. Watching the committee release their rankings, our live reaction, our comparisons, your calls, your topics. We are ready to hear from you. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below, though. Let's debate these rankings. You've loved them all year long. Can't wait to hear what you have coming up next. And, of course, we look forward to doing this with you every single Monday for the rest of the season. So, once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and, of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of those expert picks, some of the best picks in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 6 years. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.